Thank you. Awesome. Thanks.
Good morning and welcome to White Sands National Park. It is November 3rd. White Sands was a national monument until 2019 when it was upgraded to a national park, and so we added it to our list to stop at today. The plan is to drive the 8-mile road that leads through the park. The first 5 miles are paved, the last 3 miles are the hard-packed sand, and then along the way we might have a couple of different pullouts or stops just to try to explore the sand a little bit. We are at our first pullout and our first chance to get to walk onto the dunes. One bit of advice though, while you are out here, we are near an active missile range. Occasionally the park does get closed if they're doing testing, but they caution against touching any objects in the sands that could have been dropped from when they do the missile tests, because you never know if it might still be active. So the Dune Life Nature Trail, we're here at the parking lot. And then it says we have a steep uphill as we climb the dunes, and then you pretty much just follow the blue club markers all around the top of the dunes here until you get back to the car. Let's hit the trail. One thing to keep in mind when you are out here is that we are still in the desert. They recommend having 2 liters of water per person. We currently have 1 liter each, but it's only about 50 degrees right now. Still, you know, warm enough when you're hiking that you're probably going to need as much water as you can, but anything over 85, and they recommend just being extra cautious because the temperatures out here in the summer can reach well over 100 degrees. As we're walking, it says to be on the lookout for tracks here in the sand, and we did spot some pretty early on. It is our mission at some point in time when we're out in one of these national parks to be able to see an owl. We have not seen that yet. Here in White Sands, they have burrowing owls, and it says that the owls will actually take over the former dens of prairie dogs or foxes, things like that, and they deter predators by making noises that sound like rattlesnakes, and they hide out in their holes until something juicy comes by that they can pop out and grab.
One of the things I wasn't expecting on this little nature walk was to see so many trees. It's actually pretty cool. One of the trees that we just passed by had its leaves on it and had its fall gold colors on it. It was pretty cool to look at.
As you're walking along, because obviously we're in sand dunes, you have some level areas, but then you also have other sections where you're going uphill and you're coming downhill. And when you're doing downhill, you always got to be careful that you're not kicking sand up into your shoes. We we have finished up the loop. Essentially, you know, it's like you're just walking through sand dunes at the beach, but you don't have any water. There's not much to see because you are just in the midst of the sand dunes, but if you want to get out there and feel the sand underneath your feet, get a little bit of sand inside your shoes, and just be out in what this park is, it's not a bad trail to go out and explore. We are at the Interdune Boardwalk. It is just a short 0.4 mile out and back walk to the heart of the dunes. And then the sign behind us says, some of this landscape may look familiar. It is where they filmed Transformers and Year One. The path into the, quote, heart of the dunes is a boardwalk, so it's wheelchair accessible. You are not having to traverse through the sand or anything like that, which makes the walk a lot quicker to get to the end point. On the boardwalk, there is a section that is covered that has some interactive displays in it showing different animal tracks and then also the adaptation of the animals here. One of those animals is a lizard that had started out as a dark color and has eventually adapted to be white to match its surrounding sands. The biggest difference I think that we've noticed compared to the sand dunes in Colorado, I think that's the Great Sand Dunes National Park, is I don't recall as much vegetation on the sand dunes as there is here. That seemed to be more of just the rolling white sand dunes, where here you have the sand dunes, but they are covered in shrubs or various cacti and things like that. So kind of two different extremes, both the same in terms of the sands, but the landscape itself is slightly different. Here is a fun but gross fact. So the sand here is gypsum, found commonly in drywall and plaster of Paris. It's also found in a variety of medicine, foods, and household products. And it says, on average, in your lifetime, you will consume 28 pounds of gypsum. We're back at the car. Shortly after this area, or this parking area, the road's going to change from the paved road to the hard-packed gypsum sand, and that's for the last 3 miles of the drive. So we're gonna get to go drive on some sand now. We are further down the sand road, and it's a little bit more of what we're accustomed to. There is still some light vegetation here, mostly in the way of some small shrubs, but we also just have the rolling hills of the sand dunes. So we are going to attempt to climb this small hill behind us, and then I'm sure we will probably be pouring out our shoes for you shortly. We have made it to the top of the sand dune. It was actually a little bit easier than we thought, although we did cheat a little bit. There were 2 footprints in the super sandy part down near the bottom that we kind of just used as our original footholds to get us up onto the sand dune. But once we were up here, it's pretty hard packed. So I don't think we're gonna have any sand pouring out of our shoes this time. On the hill we are standing on, you can see evidence of some people who sled or who used sleds to slide down the hill. Unfortunately, I don't think we have anything in the car with us to allow us to try that. And if you just went down on your bum, you're probably going to get a pants full of sand. along the drive there is a number of pullouts where you can obviously stop to play in the sand or picnic. We are just enjoying our nectarines before we head back to the visitor center. Well, that wraps up our trip here at White Sands National Park. We were able to get our sticker and our patch at the visitor center. The visitor center also offers sleds, so you can pick those up there and take them with you into the park if you want to do some sledding down the hills. Or we also saw a family who had some sand buckets. So like we said earlier, it's kind of like you're at the beach without the water. Just something to enjoy when you're out here. Overall time here at the park was only about maybe 2.5 hours, so not a great deal of time, but I don't really know if you need a lot more than that. So if you're in the area, make sure to stop by. We'll see you on the next adventure. Bye. Yeehaw!